Good morning. Christ is born. Hi, everybody. I wanted to take a moment and speak with you. I've been noticing some things going on in the news that sometimes are a little bit troubling. First, I wanted to tell everybody that it's been a while since I've uploaded a video. And part of that is because I've been spending a lot of time in contemplation and preparation for some new work that I'm getting into. Which I can touch on more in a future video. But there are times in my life when it's necessary for me to step aside and think things through for a while. I don't want to put out videos that are filler or crap videos so that people get bored with watching what I'm saying and think that I'm just putting things out there to put things out there. I would rather the videos that I put out mean something. So first, spoiler warning, this is going to have some talk about politics. I don't normally like politics, but what I see is disturbing. And the story actually involves the state of Texas and the federal government. If you've been following it in the news, the state of Texas is not allowing the federal immigration authorities to get into a certain piece of land. And they've called out a number of Texas officials to secure that land. 25 states have supported Texas. And the person inhabiting the White House, I don't want to call him a president at this point, had a error, let's call it, when he was off mic and speaking candidly when he was talking about sending military equipment, particularly jets, against Texas. He didn't realize that his mic was still connected. So this concerns me a little bit because 49% of the country in the current polls believe that a revolution / civil war is not only necessary, but inevitable within the next 10 years. That statistic is frightening because most Americans have no idea what that's going to mean. And they don't live in a country that's been devastated by civil war. So they have no idea. They go to shopping centers. They go to grocery stores. They go to clinics. Guess which things are going to get hit first? Infrastructure. You're going to lose access to the internet. Oh no, what are you going to do without your internet? You'll probably lose access to simple cell phone usage because they'll attack lines of communication, which means you'll lose your phone. And how many in this generation can survive without their phone? Don't mean to put you down, but how many of us get a little spazzy if we forget our cell phone? Mind you, I grew up in the age when there was one phone and it was attached to the wall. Cell phones came out and these things are amazing. They are used for so many things that are helpful. But pretty quickly, if a civil war broke out, we would lose access to easy communication. We would lose access to food because what corporation would want to deliver groceries to a store that's in the middle of a combat zone? And 25 states siding with Texas. Doesn't that kind of tell a story that people have had enough of what's going on in the government? I hope that this gets resolved peacefully. Because small things like this balloon into huge things with no recourse to peace. Once those people who are determined to have violence have their way, it seems like there's never an opportunity for those people who don't want to be burying their children and grandchildren to sit down and talk, come to a compromise. And I realize that's almost a lost art in American politics at this point anyway. The idea to simply sit down and compromise. Instead, what they've been trying to do is get their political candidate in the White House. And then for that 4 years, they try to push as much legislation as possible. And then typically, the American people get sick of that political candidate and then spend the next 4 years trying to undo all of his legislation and add new legislation, which then in turn is struck down by the next guy. We've seen this with Barack Obama. We've seen this with former President Trump. We're currently seeing this with Biden, and my guess is we'll see this with whoever is in the White House next, if it's not Biden. So for the way I'm looking at things, Americans seem to really, really want a fight that they don't truly understand. I've heard a lot of guys, mostly veterans, but some of the folks that work in humanitarian aid tell a little bit about what it's like to live in some of these other parts of the world. And I've spoken with some of the brothers in the church who live in places like South America and Africa, and they tell stories that sometimes are a little bit strange to my ears. I heard one man in Africa, he's a bishop, tell me that they were wanting to create a well in town because women were required to walk a couple of miles over to the river to gain water. And there was a risk that the women would be attacked and violated while they were doing this. And they were raising money to establish this well, in part to safeguard their women from this possibility. And that is so outside of conventional American thought, because we do have crazy crimes happen like that, but we call them crazy crimes. We don't seem to treat these things as if they're normal, and that we need to, build a whole new infrastructure to avoid that possibility. Now, maybe I'm off base on that. It just seems they live in a different reality than we do. They have different needs than we do, in the sense that I just don't hear Americans having those concerns. We're truly kind of spoiled. We don't really understand the seriousness that can come from these kinds of things. When you have political groups burning down entire cities, when you have people storming the White House, whether you want to call them rebels or not, whether you want to call it an insurrection or you think it was just a peaceful protest or not, I don't care what side you sit on. When there is a judge that is assaulted in the middle of court, I mean, our country is on a precipice, and there is very little opportunity for us as human beings to stop this. And how are we? How do we pull back from the edge? It doesn't seem like any other empire in history did it. I didn't see Rome do it. I didn't see Greece. I didn't see any of the major empires in history do it. It seems like they tottered over the edge and gradually faded away into insignificance or were conquered. Well, I don't believe the United States is in danger of being conquered unless something radically changes. So I kind of see us taking the route of Rome. And that's kind of a sad thing, because my country is an amazing place with beautiful but sometimes tedious people. And to see that this path is heading towards us. A lot of people bash on America, and say what you will. We were the ones who put men on the moon, researched cures to diseases, made outrageous scientific and technological advances. And now we're a society that's having trouble figuring out what bathroom we should use and what pronouns should be used. And we're trying to say that there are, I think it's now over 72 genders. And that is outrageously stupid. And our enemies are laughing at us. We're in a state where our country is weakened. We're not united. We are actively hostile towards one another. We are polarized by politics. We are polarized by religion. We are polarized by philosophy. We are polarized by pretty much anything you want to name, including socioeconomic and political classes. And our rulers, who were supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people, are now dynasties. And they stay in office for 40, 50 years. And maybe, to some extent, a professional political class is a benefit in the sense that they have the decades of experience to navigate waters that a new person would have to learn the ropes to. I mean, but at the same time, when you become ensconced in power, when you become comfortable in power, that's when we start to see abuses, isn't it? If you spend 40, 50 years in office, well, we were concerned about our president, so we restricted him to 2 terms. Used to be, 4? I think it was. Anyway, I realize this video is kind of rambling a little bit, so let me bring it to a close. My point, to sum it all up for those of you who have stuck with me through all of these meanderings, is that I'm currently seeing so many things that just concern me. I see states that are turning hostile and in opposition, direct opposition to the federal government. I see the president making comments about deploying military assets against states. I see people sharply divided. I see kangaroo court trials against former presidents with no real evidence. And all they're really doing is throwing crap against the wall, hoping it'll stick. Throw enough crap and something will stick. I don't see political discourse. I don't see progress. As a matter of fact, I see entropy and disintegration. I see things falling to pieces, and no one is trying to stop it. It's up to us, I think. Otherwise, the end result is inevitable and will fracture as a human species and as a country. We'll turn against each other. And soon enough, it won't matter that you're an American. It'll be, what kind of an American are you? Anyway, this is a sad video. There are more videos coming. I'm getting near the end of my time of contemplation. And there's been a lot of differences that have come from that. Times of growth, times of change. I don't know, that sounds suitably vague enough. Take care, everybody. New videos coming out soon. Bear with me.